Okay, so on this episode, we're going to go through what we think is the 5 pretty important things you need to have for a boondocking trip. Okay. Number 1, on Campendium, finding your spots, having backup plans on your spots, and finding the nearest dump station / where you can get water. We got 4 collapsible 5.3 gallon jugs, and on Campendium we found a free water and dump site, probably 4 or 5 miles from our campsite, but still, it was, even though it seems like a long way, it wasn't compared to where we're at. But we had to fill up our jugs, so we basically brought 60 gallons and put it in our tank for the week.
With a little water
5
pump.
days. What?
With a little water pump.
Well, yeah, we bought a water pump online.
At Amazon.
And we had a hose hooking up to fill into our tank, and a hose in each bottle. You have to prime it first, and then it just sucked it in, and didn't take that long, and was great. Didn't have any problem loading our tanks.
It was easy.
That's one of them. That's our number 5. Number 4 would be
loading the fridge.
Loading the fridge. Make sure, because the road we were on in the National Forest was just bumpy and washboard, where it was just vibrating. And if you can, because you're going to have to take groceries in, or there really wasn't a spot where we could park the fifth wheel first and then go. There was no Walmart, and we had gotten our stuff at Walmart earlier. Most places you're going to go, you're not going to be near Walmart. So you're going to have to pack it first. You're going to have to load up first. And we just had to be careful, or we should have been more careful about, because I drink a lot of milk, so 2 gallons of milk. And that's too much weight that can slide. So now we figured out that we're going to get some, we're going to have to get some shorter bars. Well, actually, we're going to get a strap for our fridge, because we didn't have handles to where you could Velcro them tight. They just had these little cheap little rubber things.
So just think about how you load it.
Yeah, think about how you load it.
And imagine the worst shaking possible.
Yeah, because
you have a big
I
mess.
wish we could have put a camera back there, but we've seen videos with a camera back there, and yes, it's like an earthquake. Everything falls everywhere.
Well, everything did good except for the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
But I think if we get a strap, somehow we got to figure out getting a strap to wrap around it.
But I still think it needs to be loaded
But
smart.
yeah, that's true. Okay, number 3.
The checklist?
Checklist. Make sure you have a checklist, or I guess it's going to take practice every time you go through, that you don't forget anything. I mean, I walked around the fifth wheel and did a good job of making sure everything's up, everything's unchalked, everything's unplugged, everything's in, everything's good that way. But for some reason, the emergency brake cord, I don't know if I was loading stuff in the back of the truck, like I'm thinking maybe the hose when I put it in, clipped it and knocked it out. That's the only thing I can figure out, because I know it was in when I hooked up the fifth wheel.
Which it's the pin that
so I'm
controls
guessing
the emergency
yeah, it's the pin that controls the emergency brake on the trailer. And when I threw the hose in the back of the truck, it hit that cable and pulled it out. That's the only thing I can figure out.
So check stuff, even if you don't think it needs to be checked, just double check it. And
make sure, along with that anything you put in the back of your truck, because we lost our mat. Our 9x12 lighted mat is gone. and I don't know how it got out without us seeing anything. So that was number 3. Number 2 is solar. Solar is the savior for boondocking, because if you don't have solar, I guess you could use a generator all the time, but that kind of defeats the purpose of being out in the wilderness and noise and pollution and stuff.
But it has its limitations, and you have to realize that it has its limitations.
Yes.
Unless you just go all out.
We have not been totally solar. Of course, we didn't finish it till the week before we were leaving. So we don't know exactly what we're capable of. You can't have the water heater on with both refrigerators running and then run the microwave, or something that draws 1,500 watts. And that's what it says on your thing.
1,100.
1,100, 1,500. Anyway, fortunately, you know, my expert in electric solar, which John Baker from work, he put in a 250 amp breaker so that it wouldn't hurt anything. So if we get up to 250 amps, it's off, shuts it off. And that sucked the amps like crazy. It was probably 140 amps when the hot water's heating up, and it's a 10-gallon tank. So, you know, it has to heat 10 gallons, so it'll run for a while. And then you try to run a microwave, which is another 100 and who knows how many amps, and that's over the 250, and boom.
So we like the solar, but just know its limitations and know your solar system.
Yeah, because you're going to have to just do things certain, you know, you just got to watch it, you know. Okay, and the number one thing when doing anything full-timing, boondock, it doesn't matter what you're doing, is your tires. Your tires are your most important thing. It's your lifeblood of your vehicle and your trailer. You have to check them constantly. We have a TPS system. We're still kind of working out the bugs on it. But the tire pressure and temperature can avoid you all kinds of problems that you may see. You know, a slow leak, a puncture. You should be able to, with this system, be able to tell by getting warned when the temperature starts getting hot. And you should be able to tell before it even gets the alarm, because, for example, my tires are running in the 90, sometimes over 100 degrees. The lowest temperature it would set on there is 149. So if you start seeing the temperature go up from 100 up to 130, like you know something's wrong and it's getting hot for a reason. Either there's not enough pressure, which you set a high and low pressure, so you should be able to get this warning as long as it's working right. But so far, it has matched up with my trailer, and I have a digital reader as far as you can't measure temperature. Well, you know what? I think well, that would be the valve stem temperature, which I don't know how much that, you know, it's probably pretty close to being right. But anyway, I have a digital thing. I check it to make sure this TPS system is right that we're using, and it matches up pretty close. And then you also, fortunately, my truck also has a, you know, I click it to tires, and we noticed today that it was 90, 88, 89, and then 67 on the front right. Well, we pull off and, you know, get some air, got some gas too, and it was 67 PSI. So it took us a while, but we got it up to 90, and it's been there ever since. So tires, number one. And hopefully that helps you with this, on this episode, with 5 things we think are important